quietly and follow along. At any point, click the pause button to catch up or take a break. Okay, in this art, just a heads up, this video is sped up just a little bit to save some time. We're going to start by creating a stencil for our marker. This is so all of our markers are consistent in size and shape, just as they are in the package when you get them. I pulled out a marker out of my pack so I can use as a reference to be sure to get the shape I want. We can utilize the edge of the paper to get a nice straight edge. Let's begin with a curve at the top. That shows that the marker shape is a curved cylinder. And then do some lines to go up and create curves in as well. Refer back to your marker. I'm doing some inside shapes, curved lines to bring out the sections. The sections aren't as important to do at this step, but they do help me see the marker in general. Next, you can cut out the stencil, and as you cut out, you can make adjustments to your marker. Feel free to turn over the paper at any time to see if you have a symmetrical shape. Remember, I used a marker for this step, but you're going to want to use a pencil so you can erase and make adjustments. Off to the side, I have one done in pencil, and I do prefer that just so I don't get distracted by those marker designs. So I'll be using that for our paper. On your paper, decide how many markers you want to do. I tend to put my markers around the edge, towards the bottom, maybe around the sides as well, and I give variation in the direction that they are pointing. I'm going to be doing red, orange, yellow, green, teal, and blue marker for this. With a pencil, trace around the stencil and the edge of the marker. You are going to want to draw very, very light for this step. I am using a pen so you can see it in the video, but a pencil is best. Our goal is to strive for the negative space that these markers are creating. So since the markers are white and we're going to be coloring around it, it makes a negative space. Pencil lines can be distracting. So here I am alternating my markers, putting different lengths in. You can even overlap the markers if you wish for a little extra dimension to your artwork. So I'm starting at the left side and moving around to the right. Keep in mind, you're counting your markers. I mean, you are more than welcome to add more than one of each color. You get to choose the colors. As you're in this process, start to kind of plan it out so you know what colors you are going to need for paint. We'll be applying watercolor to the background around the markers. Now we're using what is called a wet on wet technique. A wet on wet technique for watercolor is when you paint the surface first, get it wet with water. So we're literally just painting with water, and that allows the watercolor to flow and blend wherever it goes where the water is. So it just is a great way to have more control. The paint will only go where you got it wet. So I'm starting out with red as my first color, and I'm not going in super heavy with the pigment. I tried to wet down my surface first so that the watercolors once again just flow and kind of fade into the top of the paper. You can go back in later and add in different deepness or vibrant colors of the watercolor. This is really just layer one to get good blending between the paper and the watercolor to fade out, but also from color to color. Here I'm transitioning from yellow, doing wet on wet again. Do not go over your pencil lines. Once you do, that is where the paint will flow, so keep that in mind. Okay. I like to add a little bit of each color around where that marker will be to show that it is illuminating around the marker. I'm going to continue this process all the way around for each marker. I like to add in some different tones, maybe like a yellow-green between my yellow and my green marker. And then I'll go back in and just use regular green around the edge of the marker that is green. Once again, this video is sped up so you can see the whole process. Enjoy using watercolor and blending in the rainbow or whatever color scheme you choose. Here I'm going back in after I completed my first layer of the color fade with my watercolor. I am going to go back and just do a little more pigment near the edge of the paper, edge of the markers, and fade it in. As you notice when I'm doing this, I'm doing small circles with the tip of my brush, and I'm kind of pulling that watercolor back out towards the fade of the paper. And just a little more pigment, like I said, around the edge of the markers, adding that extra layer and color pop. Okay, we have a great pop of color. Now to make our markers pop as well. I allowed my paper to completely dry before doing this process. If you don't, you may end up with rips on your paper. I'm using a pen for this step, but a black color pencil would be a great alternative. We are tracing our lines, which used to be pencil, on the edge of our marker, and now we're adding those inside contour lines. Contour lines add detail to a shape that give it more characteristic. So this includes curved edges, such as the tip of my marker, where the cap snaps, and the color lines and the oval on the outside of the packaging of the marker. I'm doing this for each marker. Next, what we're going to do is draw the cap. We're going to start with a curved edge line one way and then curving it the opposite way, and then drawing two parallel lines and connecting them on the little booty end of that marker cap with a curved line. You can place your cap anywhere in the space above. You can even overlap caps to give it more dimension and make it interesting. I tend to keep my caps kind of generally above the color that it's associated with. So my blue cap would be above my blue marker. I kind of make it look like the caps popped off and the markers are ready for some action. But you can put your caps anywhere. Next, we're going in with a black marker. A Sharpie is great. And we're adding in a dimensional shadow. The shadow should be underneath your marker and the cap. Whatever side is generally closer to the bottom edge of your paper is a great way to go. Or you can keep it consistent and go to either the right or the left side of each shape. Your choice. If your marker is thin, you could do double lines and go over it twice to thicken it out. And our final step in the project is when it really starts to look real and come to life. Here I'm using an actual marker to color the marker. Okay. So I'm coloring in the stripe, and to do the design on the marker, I tend to start on the outside of that shape and then do lines, working my way in. Then I'll do a squiggle on each side and trying to make that negative space parallel that white stripe that you see. Here I'm going in with a yellow. Same process is repeated over and over to make my markers uniform and unique. I'm going to finish drawing in my markers, but thanks so much for joining me today with my channel Art with Miss Dykman. Way to leave your mark, artists.